John, this is the voice of God. Look up at the third wheel camera and smile at the wonderful people. Just kidding, it wasn't God. It was Santa Claus, and because you didn't do it quick enough, you're not getting a present this year, John!
How dare you?
Oh, I dared, John. Ho, ho, ho. Well, well, well. Good afternoon, John.
Well, good afternoon, Ben.
You look as tired as you sound.
I am quite tired.
Why are you tired, John?
I think you're keeping me up at night.
I was the one trying to... I left first. You guys got into a conversation about legalising drugs. I said my bit. I was out. I left you guys... I don't know how long you guys stayed on for having that debate. And that wasn't even on a stream. But, you know... I was the one that stopped us playing at 11:30. I said, that's it. It's going to be our last one. Right? Instead of midnight.
Oh, Belladonna's in the chat. Could have done with you last night.
What do you mean we could...
Proud.
Yeah, we did very well last night, John.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we'd had Belladonna, though, we could have had, like, 2 teams.
Yeah, that's true. But,
That's true.
I mean, that was a very deep and philosophical conversation about personal rights, personal responsibility, and bodily autonomy. One that I think we should have in a video. Probably not on YouTube, but one I think we should have. Because it was really good, and it was really good to hear some different perspectives, and to hear some people come around to our perspective as well.
Cut away from me.
Why?
Just do it.
Okay. I have cut away from you, John. No, you meant to do that after the intro, John.
Oh. Right. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Right, cut back to me.
I'll cut back to us both, shall I?
Yeah.
That's meant to be after the intro, John. Well, during the intro. I mean, that's how tired he is. He's forgotten.
Oh.
He's forgotten.
Right, what I was going to say is... I had a dream last night. I had a dream. You were in it, Ben. So was Adam. And I had a dream that we were actually playing Fortnite. But when I say playing Fortnite...
We were on the island.
In Fortnite. I think we're playing too much Fortnite. I think we need to stop.
And if you'd like to see us playing Fortnite, you can go over to our second channel, 100 Acre Swamp. But there's going to be more things than Fortnite on there soon. And I'm going away, hopefully, if I can raise a few euros next month. And I'll bring you along on that as well. And John, we're going to start talking about more movies, aren't we? Avatar 2 comes out. John? Avatar 2.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
3 hours, 10 minutes long at 48 frames per second.
I think it's going to be a pile of woke shit.
hopefully.
I think it's going to be a good-looking pile of woke
Oh,
shit.
it's going to look fantastic, yeah,
But
especially at 48 frames per second.
I think it's going to be a pile of woke shit, and James Cameron has done nothing to dissuade me from that viewpoint.
Especially when he's going out and making public statements like testosterone is toxic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe pipe down, James. Just make your films.
Yeah. Or even just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well, he can make his movies. He can get in his little submarine and go down to the bottom of the ocean. I know he likes doing that, right? You can do all of that. Don't try and lecture us. Just make your entertainment, and remember that your films are meant to be entertainment first and foremost. So hopefully, the first one was just the first Avatar movie was Pocahontas in space with blue people. That's what the first Avatar movie was. So what's this one going to be? More of the same? Who knows? Who knows? Natasha says she won't be watching the blue people, and Vaughn says drugs are bad, okay.
And with that, I'd like to welcome you all to this episode 175 of Chasing Dissent Live with me, John, and Ben.
Is he, Shalini? Is he really? Because I don't think he is. I don't see that John's missing anything. Thank you very much. I think John looks perfect.
I can't think what she's talking about.
No,
she's a strange girl, that one.
No, me either. He looks perfect. He looks wonderful. He looks... You know, he's going to be the second half of my OnlyFans account. So he has to look wonderful. Don't you, John?
This is news to me.
What?
Right.
I think I distinctly told you this. And I also distinctly told you not to speak during the fucking intro, John.
What's that on your t-shirt? It looks like... it's Daddy Pig's nose.
It's fucking Daddy Pig, yeah.
Yeah, but I could only see his nose.
And do you know where I got that from? Do you know where I got that from, John?
A shop?
No, I got it from the place that Boris Johnson went. I got it from Peppa Pig World.
Oh, okay.
I
didn't even know there was a Peppa Pig World.
Yeah, the kids fucking love it, and I
thought
really
it was
cold.
Carrie's place. Anyway, right, let's get on with it.
Yep.
I hate to do it again, but he's still in the fucking news, and I think the reason he's still in the fucking news is because he's making everything about him.
Well,
I know this happened, right? But did it? Is it another fucking setup? Is it another Ligma Johnson thing?
Well, he's put out a video of a guy and his license plate.
Yeah, okay, but the video's a video. I mean, so I mean, if you're going to go and do that, why would you leave the license plate in your car?
Yeah, no. What appears to have happened? So look at this. Is a tweet from Elon Musk, and it's directly in relation to an account run by a man named Jack Sweeney, who was had a second Twitter account as well called @ElonJet, and he was basically posting nothing but real-time updates as to where the exact location of Elon Musk was at any time. And it culminated essentially last night, allegedly, and there is a video. There is a video of a man sitting in a car dressed like an Antifa black bloc, and the license plate of the car is put out.
I mean, we all know that what happened and all this shit, but right. So,
well, no, these people might not know. So,
okay.
What happened was
carry on,
because let's face it, some of these people aren't actually on.
It's
Twitter.
fine. Carry on.
A car was essentially stopped that was thought to be carrying Elon Musk. The man allegedly jumped on the hood of the car and started screaming and shouting. And the only person in that car, other than obviously drivers, was Elon's 2-year-old son X, and not Elon himself. So he's pissed. He's angry. He's a father.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'm angry that he fucking called his son X.
Yeah, no, I don't quite understand that. But he's got a
Fucking
load of
knob.
kids, and he's probably just run out of names.
Yeah, maybe he's just out with numbers. Oh, of course, it's after THX1138 or something, isn't it? Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
Fucking twat, nerdy git. Anyway, as you can see, I'm beginning to lose my patience with Muskrat.
It's because we just want our fucking accounts back, isn't it, John?
Yeah, I know. Vaughn, if you're on a packed train, unplug your headphones and let us broadcast to the entire train.
Yep. Yep. Let them hear the good word, and tell them where they can find the good word as well.
So I'm just going to throw a couple of words at you, and one of them is Flight Radar 24.
Yes.
Yeah. What does that do?
It does exactly what this Elon Jet account did.
Yeah, okay. So it's all publicly available information. And it doesn't matter what Elon does or doesn't do on Twitter, it's still going to be publicly available information. He's not going to get what he wants here. Just because someone can't post it on Twitter doesn't mean they can't post it.
No, and
it's there all the time. And if someone's after him, they're not going to be fucking using Twitter to do it.
Well,
they're going to be using a paid-for site or something like that. And they're going to be using a VPN, they're going to be using backdoors and everything. They'll be doing it all undercover. So, fuck off, Elon. You're just being a knob. You really are.
So...
And I understand he wants to be private, but you know what? When you're that famous, you get that much money, and you're doing this much in the world, you don't get to be private anymore. That's the price. You take your choice. Either fucking disappear into obscurity or do what you're doing and be the big man. So you want to be the big man? You want to go on Dave Chappelle's stage in New York City and get booed the fuck off it, basically, right? You be the big man. You don't want to be the big man, fuck off into obscurity and stop pissing us off.
John's woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, it would appear.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because, like I say, as a father, as a parent myself, I understand exactly where he's coming from, especially in the incident that happened, or allegedly happened last night.
Allegedly.
And he's put this video out of a guy sitting in a car, and then he's put the license plate of the car out as well and said, does anybody recognise this person in car? And he looks like your bog standard quintessential Antifa soy sipping latte soy boy, right?
Does anyone recognise this person in the car? Because that's all you could fucking see. Fucking knob.
But yeah.
Right. I'm fed up with Elon Musk, I really am.
Well, I just want him to, if he's going to make such grandiose public statements as you are getting a general amnesty on this platform, right? And I know that's kind of a personal thing to us, but if you're going to make that statement, you're going to make that promise, and you say you're going to sit with the word of the people that voted on that, then fucking do it. Because you're not doing it. What you're doing is you're picking people like Robert Malone, Peter McCullough, Roger Stone, celebrities, and you're giving them their accounts back, but you're not looking at the little guy, and I wouldn't even say with over, I'd say, 40,000 followers between the 3 accounts that I had taken down. I wouldn't even say I'm really the little guy, but,
Oh, you are.
Well, we're definitely in the top 10 percentile of accounts on this platform.
Anyway, who cares? It's the same shit, different sensor. That's it. It's the same shit, different sensor.
Yeah.
So all you've got is a variation. It's like exactly what happens when one government replaces another. Same shit, different name.
I mean, you're not wrong, are you? And this next segment, this next section is going to be a tough one to cover. And it is, because we are now entering 2 days, I believe, of strike action for the first time in our lives from NHS nurses. Nurses are on strike. Where do we go with this, John? Because I've been thinking about this hard all day. And we've got Natasha in the chat here, and she works for our NHS, right? So I'd like to know her.
What are they striking for?
Well, better pay and better conditions, right?
Well, what's wrong with the conditions?
they appear to be
I mean,
overworked
I'm
and
asking
understaffed.
a genuine question. I don't know. Right? I mean, I know nurses and I've been in hospitals and I've seen people, and I don't know what's wrong with the conditions. What conditions do they want? Right?
I think they want to work less hours, maybe, because they do work ahead. Okay, I'm on the side of them maybe with that, because especially is the fact that they appear to be quite understaffed on the front lines. And
right, so it's like,
it's money, Natasha says.
right, okay, how much money do you want?
Well, I don't think Natasha is striking.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough, but how much money do nurses want? I mean, how much money do they get just now? How much do they want?
Well, see, those are things that I can't fully answer, and she says it's lack of staff that causes problems as well. And
well, yeah, okay, but that then comes back to a thing that we've been banging on about for ages, and it's not that the NHS is underfunded.
It's not.
It's the fact that the NHS is poorly managed.
Very
poorly managed.
Let me put this into perspective. The budget for the NHS, the money that the NHS receives as a whole, as an organisation, is £1 billion every 3 days. Not every 3 weeks, not every 3 months, every 3 days. That money could be easily better distributed, and I've spoken to hospital executives who admit to me that they will give construction projects and things inside the hospital, to the highest, not the lowest bidder. And the reason is that it's very, very simple. If they don't spend all of their budget, they don't get as much next year or more.
Well, but that's a public sector thing. That's kind of what happens there anyway. Right, but I mean, it's not even that. It's the fact that look at the job that's advertised today. What's all that shit about? In fact, it's on the next slide.
Okay.
What's that?
This is a director for lived experience. Salary of £110,000 to £115,000 per annum. We are seeking an interpersonally talented and strategic bridge builder to join our trust board in the exciting new post of director for lived experience. The post holder will be responsible for establishing and maintaining the highest levels of lived experience practice and amplifying the voice of those using services within decision-making at all levels of the organisation. Those are just words. They don't actually mean anything.
That's what I tend to call wank speak.
Yeah, they don't mean...
Because it's just word salad. That's all that is, right? Now, that's a trust that's advertising for that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a small group of hospitals, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, wouldn't it be better if the NHS kind of started focusing on curing people from diseases and treating their problems rather than focusing on how they can include more people and how they can bridge the gap between this and that? Because there won't be any gap to bridge if the people are dead.
Take that money, £110,000 to £115,000 per annum, and give it to 2 or 3 nurses.
Well, it's a possibility, but even then, right? So the problem you've got is, the problem as I see it, is that the NHS has lost its way, and it lost its way. It's lost its way for a long time. It's got steadily worse, but it really lost its way in March 2020 because as soon as you said, give the NHS 2 weeks to prepare, right? And this was on top of the previous 20 years worth of, the NHS is close to collapse because it's winter, right? The whole thing is just, they seem to be existing in a race to the bottom.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate.
Nobody seems to want it to succeed. And I know people say, well, the government want it to fail because they want to privatise it.
Yeah, of course they do.
It doesn't matter whether the government want to privatise it or not. It's not fucking working, right? I mean, if someone gets an abnormal smear test, which I heard about this morning, and is told the waiting time is 52 weeks for a young woman to go and get that checked out, right? What's the prognosis if it turns out to be cancer?
Well, this is absolutely right, and I mean, look at my own experience under the autism clinic.
Yeah, well, you're all right. You're better off now. You've only got like 18 No, you've only got like 22 months to wait.
2020, yeah, about 21 months to wait until like they can finally see me. Yeah,
That's all right. You'll be fine.
yeah, 21 months.
You'll be fine. It's fuck all to do with mental health or anything like that. You know,
No.
21 months is nothing. You'll do that standing on your head.
Well, exactly. But
So
I want to say a few things. I do want to say a few things, and they're gonna sound harsh. And the reason they're gonna sound harsh is because they're true. Okay? So I've been thinking about how to say this all day, so I think I'm just gonna say it. I've seen nurses today on the TV complaining about the size of wait lists, and doctors complaining about the size of NHS wait lists. And I can't help but think that they are 100% responsible for the size of those wait lists. Okay? Because, well, at least, maybe not 100%. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh. But they hold a vast amount of the responsibility. And the reason I say this is because during the years of 2020, 2021, and maybe some of 2022 as well, a vast majority of hospital services were closed to everybody. A vast majority of NHS services were closed to everybody. And at that point, when those hospitals were empty, when they were not giving cancer patients their treatment, when they were not giving heart attack sufferers proper treatment, stroke sufferers proper treatment, people couldn't go to the eye doctor, so they might have gone blind. When all of these major necessities, and that's what they were shut down, they had the opportunity to turn around and say, this is going to harm and kill people, and we won't be a part of it. They could have all stood up and said, we are going to do our job that we trained to do, that we chose to do, that we are paid to do, and we are going to help these people. How many people still to this day have absolutely no idea that they have cancer? And they're walking around as ticking time bombs, right?
Yeah.
They created this problem. They well, at least certainly exacerbated it. And I'm sorry to sound harsh, and I'm sorry if people don't like what I'm saying. But it has to be said. Somebody has to say it. Somebody has to bring some sense back into the goddamn room. How are we going to fix these wait lists, right? Yeah, granted, a lot of the people on them might have prematurely died, passed away, because they couldn't have these treatments, because they weren't getting their cancer treatments, because they weren't investigated for a stroke or a heart attack or things like that. Maybe that helps solve the wait problem. You know, it's inconvenient, but it could be a solution. But at the end of the day, the problem that we are seeing with the massive wait list is one of the NHS's own fucking making.
Yeah, and GPs have contributed to it, because
GPs are even worse.
But even now, a lot of GPs are still not fucking seeing people, and people are obviously going to the hospitals, which is clogging up A&E. I mean, you went into A&E recently, and the wait time was like ridiculous, wasn't it, Ben?
Well, my wife went in and took her friend in because they said she had extreme chest problems, she couldn't breathe properly. They gave her a 4-hour wait time for an ambulance. This was just last week, right? They gave her a 4-hour wait time for an ambulance. Actually, it was this week. It was Monday. And then, because we said, no, that's not good enough, we put her in the car, wife put her in the car and drove her to the hospital. 85 patients in A&E. 85 patients in A&E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
It's not sustainable.
Yes, I mean, the whole thing, you know what, the whole country's fucked. It really is. And I'll be honest, I don't think you're going to strike your way out of this. When is, and I might well be wrong here, but when has striking actually ever achieved anything? Because I can't think of any time that has worked.
Yeah. No,
I mean, apart from when the Thatcher basically shut all the coal mines because of the strikers, Wapping because they changed the print press type stuff and get rid of all those people. I mean, none of these things made any difference to the people that were doing the striking. No. Did they?
No.
Or am I wrong? I might be wrong. You know, but I remember all these strikes, but I don't remember any any upside for the people that were striking.
You know, I know. Once again, I sounded harsh there, and you know, people might not like what I have to say, but my only concern in this entire situation, are the patients, are the people that need care, the people that need help, the people that are, you know, dying unnecessarily because of they couldn't get access to help. That's my care, and to then see the people that ultimately, in my view, yeah, they might have been told to, but refused the care to those people. Say we want more money, or we're not going to care for any more people. How many people will die because of these strikes? Now, I'm not. Yeah. I want to balance that with, yes, they deserve a fair wage. They absolutely do deserve a livable wage. But at the end of the day, I hear all of these people say healthcare is a human right, right? I'm not so sure that's true, first of all, because I don't have a right to your labour. And if you don't train and go and become a doctor, I can't force you to treat me, right? It's as simple as that. So,
somebody want to block Tony because he's shouting and he's annoying me. I mean, hey, we can dare to say what we like, Tony. We're entitled to our own opinions. You know, you're entitled to yours, but you're getting a bit over the top here. We're just trying to have an adult conversation. I don't think I want to listen to you if you're going to behave like that.
No, yeah, I see him there, and do you know what? People, like you say, people are absolutely entitled to their own opinion. But remember, these people chose to be in this profession.
I mean, what have you said that's disgusting? I don't understand, because
the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, nurses are just people like everyone else.
Yeah, they are. They are just people like everyone else, and
and basically they're doing a job like everyone else.
And
they're getting paid to do that job, and if they want to consider it a vocation, that's fine. But if you consider something a vocation, normally you don't strike for more money, right?
Well, when you took the job on an agreed salary.
Yeah.
You knew what your salary was going to be, but at the end of the day, if you want more money, absolutely campaign for more money. And I also would say that just like anybody working any job, you should be able to afford to live based upon the job that you do and based upon the income that you receive. Because remember, ultimately, you know me, I am a lefty, right? I am a lefty.
Yeah, I mean, right, let's be honest here, right? And I've seen a couple of times people purporting to be nurses saying they're having to use food banks, right?
Right.
I find that difficult to believe. Okay?
I don't know what to believe.
Right, I find it difficult to believe that anyone who's on a salary needs to use a food bank. Right?
Okay.
Because if you have to do that, then you're not managing your money correctly, or you're spending money on things that you really shouldn't be spending money on if you have to go down that route.
Okay. I'm not. Well, once again, I would say there are extenuating circumstances, like a nurse in central London, for example.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Right. You're on benefits, right? Do you use a food bank?
Well, no. My PIP.
Right. Okay. End of story. You don't use a food bank, right?
Right.
Okay. You're nowhere near the amount of money that a nurse gets.
Yeah, but I do enjoy yellow sticker shopping job.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's what I'm saying. If you were on a salary, if you were on 20 grand a year or 25 grand a year or whatever, right,
that would be nice.
Would you need to use a food bank? And if you've got kids and that, it doesn't matter. You're still not spending your money right if you've got to use a food bank, or you're just being a dick.
Well,
right.
Well, like I said, once again, I could actually imagine that if you are a nurse in central London and you're living in central London and you're on that kind of salary, you probably are using a food bank just to pay for your rent job.
Well, most people that work in those kind of jobs and don't live in central London.
No, yeah, I also understand that, but then let's look at the rail fares.
Hey, then the choice is there. Because apparently every fucking hospital is short of nurses, so you should be able to go anywhere you like. So you can't have one without the other, right? Either people are short and there's desperate need for nurses, or and you're working in the wrong hospital because you've got to travel to your work or you can't afford to live there,
Yeah.
right? That's your choice, right?
Yeah.
So move somewhere where you can afford to live, right?
Okay.
But there's no reason for anyone who's working in the NHS to be using a food bank.
Once again, I don't know everybody's individual circumstances, so I can't comment on that.
It doesn't matter on their individual circumstances. If they're getting paid a salary, there is no reason for them to be using a food bank. End of story, right? Because there are people out there who are homeless, there are people out there on minimal pensions, there are people out there on disability, there's people out there who are unable to work and are actually not claiming anything, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that should be using food banks, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, if I had my way, mate, nobody should be using a food bank. Nobody should be using a fucking food bank, right? But
yeah, agreed. But
when we ask, but you've also got to understand.
We're talking realism.
Yeah, but I'm also talking about realism because let's face it, economically, this country is trying to fuck us all. The cost of things like milk and bread have risen over 30% in the space of 12 months. How is that economically sustainable? So I'm assuming all the food has probably gone along with it as well.
But hold on a minute. Right, hold on a minute. Nothing that's happening now hasn't happened before. This isn't new, people, right? We've lived through this before. Now, you may not have because you're younger, right?
Yeah.
But this is exactly what the 70s and 80s were like. Freaking inflation was rampant. At one point, my mortgage payment was 16%.
Mm-hmm.
It went from 5% to 16%, the interest rate. Okay? Now, you try going from a 5% to a 16% interest rate on a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
My mortgage went up by 3 times, right? It was more than 2/3 of my wage. Okay, now I'm not saying that it didn't stay there very long.
Yeah.
Okay? But it was there for a couple of months. So none of these things haven't happened before. Inflation's been high before. Unemployment's been massive before. So these things happen, and we will get through them, right?
Well, I hope we do.
Well, you will, unless you want to bring society to an end. But things will get better, right? But the question is, they don't get better quickly. If everybody starts scrabbling, and this is exactly what happened in the 70s, everybody starts going, I need more money, I need more money. You know, then it was teachers, it's always nurses, nurses, firemen, right? They always want more money, right? Okay.
I say take all the money that we're giving to Ukraine and give it to the NHS.
Well, why? You said the NHS isn't underfunded. Why give it to the NHS?
Well, I agree with you. The NHS isn't underfunded, but it certainly could be better funded. You know, there is.
Could it?
I would.
$1 billion every 3 days.
Yeah, well, I say that there's certainly room for innovation, shall we say?
And don't get me wrong. I'm not necessarily saying it should all go to the NHS, but I don't think we should be paying anything to Ukraine because you know what? Charity starts at home. And Ukraine owes us, we owe Ukraine fuck all. Ukraine's never done anything for us but give us the top 3 producer of child pornography, the most corrupt country in Europe, appalling record on human rights for women and for Romanies.
So here's my 3-step plan to fix the NHS. I have a 3-step plan to fix the NHS. You ready? Hire someone that's dispassionate towards the entire situation. Fire all of the middle management. Profit. That's all you got to do. Get rid of all the goddamn middle management and stop allowing hospitals to fritter the money on projects where they give them to the highest bidder.
See, the problem, right? The problem you've got with the NHS, in my view, right, is that you have doctors running departments, right? Usually in the form of consultants.
Yes.
And some of them won't like this, but they think they're God. They all have a fucking God complex.
I kind of understand why.
Yeah, but it doesn't help, right? So they all think they're God, and they think everything they do should be a rule rather than a suggestion. You know, everything is set in stone when they say it, and everybody treats them as such.
See,
and that's why That's why it's very difficult to manage the NHS properly.
Yeah, I just want to address something that Adam has said in the chat, because I don't think he's going to expect my answer to this. He says, afternoon all, it's private companies that are the issue. Contractors running departments and doctors have their own limited companies too. And I'm actually going to fully disagree with you there, because I think they have space in this. I think that private companies have space in this thing, because the best NHS care that I have received over the last 2 years when I've needed something, I have been delegated out to a private company with this being obviously funded through the NHS, and they have done it like that, right?
Yeah, but they've done it like that because they're getting paid by the NHS to do it like that.
So now, that's why I say there's space for it.
But the problem is, it's the same doctor.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
I don't mean it's a similar doctor. I mean it's the exact same
individual
doing the work.
Of course, it's the same as like our dental surgery, for example. I don't have a dental surgery at the moment, but my previous dental surgery, you could see the same dentist as either an NHS doctor or a private doctor. And they would, you know, they're definitely on the take both ways, absolutely. But I also think that there is space for private industry to innovate the NHS. I believe...
I think the NHS is repairable, right?
Yeah.
But it would need very, very strong leadership to do so. And that leadership would not come from a politician, right? A Secretary of Health isn't going to be able to do it. It needs someone on the ground, hands-on, in each of the different trusts.
And like I said, dispassionate.
Or even in each of the different hospitals, hands-on to do the job. And that's the problem. They're not going to do it, and they're not going to get rid of enough people, and they're not going to tighten things up. So no. I think the NHS is ultimately bound to fail because of the way that they're running it.
Yeah, the whole problem is how it's run and how it's budgeted.
And of course, the whole thing gets even worse in Scotland because it's a devolved issue. The NHS completely devolved. So the Scottish government, who don't know how to build a fucking ferry, never mind run a health service, are running into the ground even quicker here.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Shalini makes a very good point in our chat. She says no one has the balls to pull it apart and restructure.
That's exactly what needs to be done, and they're not going to do that.
And it does need to be done. And it needs to be done by someone that is entirely dispassionate to the situation, who looks at it from a financial and a caregiving point of view. And we need to get back to looking at it as a caregiving service, because the more and more we hire these people, the more and more we hire people like directors for lived experience and diversity managers, you are taking money away from frontline care. Now, I am, in everything I have said here, I am not directly criticising the nurse on the ground. I mean, I am a little bit, because they could have turned around and said, look, these people are going to die if we don't give them the treatment they need. And for nearly 2 years, they went by not giving a lot of people the treatment they need. And we can't look over that, because that's the reason these waiting lists appear. I can't believe there wasn't an adult in the room when the government turned around and said, you've got to shut down cancer services, you've got to shut down heart services, you've got to shut down stroke services. How was there not an adult in the room who went, are you fucking serious?
No, yeah, I know. And let's remember, you know, the third highest cause of death is your doctor.
So, ultimately, my opinion is that the NHS has created a problem for itself by doing what it has done over the last 2 years. It's always been on life support anyway, but I think it's really elevated and escalated things over the last 2 years. Do I think nurses should be paid fairly and so that they can live? Absolutely. I think everybody should be paid fairly so that they can live. But I don't think that taking days off and once again understaffing or unstaffing departments is going to help anybody. All it's ultimately going to do is leave less medical staff on the ground, and they're being probably paid for this strike as well, and people are going to die. You know?
The problem, if they're on strike, they won't be getting paid.
I hope not, because that would be...
They shouldn't be. Whether the union chooses to pay them or not is up to the union, but they shouldn't be receiving pay if they're on strike.
I understand. I realise that we've turned a lot of people off with this conversation. I do.
Well,
right?
you know what? We're all big boys and girls. We're
Yeah.
supposed to have adult conversations, and there's nothing to say we agree with everyone. I mean, I think the NHS is incredibly badly run.
I think it's.
I'm not saying that's a reason to disband it.
No,
And
I'm not saying that
I
either.
I certainly don't want to see a totally private healthcare system because I certainly couldn't afford it.
Agreed.
You know, I think there's a place for the NHS, but what I think is there's no place for people that are in the NHS, right, who seem to think they are super entitled, because there are a lot of people like that, right? And there's no
Consultants,
place,
especially, as you say.
there's no place in the for people in the NHS who are completely mercenary, because there are a lot of people like that as well. There are very, very many good doctors and nurses in
Absolutely.
the NHS, but they need the chance to shine, and they need the chance to actually do their profession, which is healing people, right?
Yeah.
But they don't get that chance because they're constricted at every turn, sometimes by their peers, sometimes by their admin, you know, sometimes by the patients themselves, because let's face it, patients themselves can be a bit of a dick as well at times.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's an adult situation that needs to be handled appropriately. But throwing money at it isn't the answer. Throwing proper, considered and careful management, I think, is the way to bring us out of this. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think the thing's going to be a long, slow, journey of destruction.
Well, like I said, ultimately, the only people who are going to suffer and the only people who I care about in this entire situation are the patients. And they are the people that are suffering. They are the people that have been suffering partly at the hands of the NHS for the past 2.5 years. Because, like Adam says, difficult conversations do need to be had. They need to be had about the structure of the NHS. They need to be had about the morality of the last 2.5 years of the NHS, because we treated it as a golden goose. People went out on their doorsteps and clapped for it. All the while, people were being denied cancer treatments, and I just can't get my head around that.
This whole worship of the NHS as a sacred cow thing really, really worries me, that people allowed themselves to be led down that route. Because it really is standard brainwashing techniques. Adam will speak to that. That's cult behaviour. It really is.
Well, literally applauding for a government institution is, it's a tenet of fascism. It's a tenet of fascism. But
anyway, shall we move on? Because
I think we should. But once again, nurses, in theory, we support you, right? But ultimately, it's not the government. Well, it's kind of the government you need to have a go at, but it's also you need to look within. You need to look at your own organisation. You need to look at your own structure, and you need to turn around to them and say, look, we need someone in charge that's going to make hard but correct calls in how we spend our money. And that's all I'm going to say for that. Let's move on to a tweet here from Unity News Network, UNN, and it's about Pope Francis. He says Pope Francis is calling for a humble Christmas this year. He encourages Catholics with any savings from reduced spending to be spent on gifts donated to Ukrainians. Well, first of all, I'm not a Catholic, and second of all, I'm having a humble Christmas this year, Your Worship, because I can't fucking afford it.
You know what, Pope Francis? You can go and take a hike.
I'm just saying, I can't.
Charity begins at home, and as far as I'm concerned, home is not Ukraine.
Yeah, no, and once again, in the past 12 months, just the cost of food has raised about 30% on our shelves. How do you think people are going to afford it? I mean, I've got my Christmas meats over the past few months, and I have them in the freezer because there's no way I could afford like a nice turkey crown, a fresh turkey crown going up to Christmas. Couldn't afford that, so I got frozen bits and put them in the freezer when they were cheap. Okay. A lot of us are having a humble Christmas this year, Pope Francis, and that's not because we have the money to then give savings to Ukrainians. It's because we don't have any fucking money. It's as simple as that. The answer is humbly no, sir, because I couldn't afford to even if I wanted to. Should we move on?
Yes, I just thought I'd put this up, and if you read the definition of gaslighting, so who does that apply to?
confuse, intimidate, disempower people for the purpose of controlling other people and promoting the abuser's interest. Well, that sounds like either the government or the far left.
Well, I'd say it's the government.
I'd say it's a bit of both.
The far left could be the government. It doesn't matter. That's any government. That's any government in a nutshell. It doesn't matter what party or persuasion you're from. That's any government in a nutshell, because ultimately the aims of government are all the same. Keep you in your place, feather their own nest.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. And we have definitely been gaslit by the government, or maybe even deeper, the behavioural insights team, for the last 2.5 years. And then once the coup, disappeared from everybody's collective worry, it was, monkeypox. Oh, but we can't call it monkeypox anymore because that's racist. Now we call it mpox.
Yeah, it just didn't work, did it? The monkeypox thing didn't work.
They tried, though, didn't they? They bloody tried.
I know. Speaking of gaslighters,
Saint Olena Zelensky splurges 40,000 on a shopping trip in France, according to employees. Spent 40,000 euros during a 1-hour visit to a store on Avenue Montaigne. Reliable source, employee of the store in question, in charge of customer collection. Brigitte Macron was with her.
There you go. 40,000 euros in 1 hour in a store in Paris.
That's about the amount of money that I receive in 3 or 4 years.
How many people in a war can afford to go to Paris and do their Christmas shopping?
Well, people. I'll tell you
people
who.
That live in Ukraine can.
I'll tell you who. People who are being donated billions of dollars by the United Kingdom, the United States, and the EU.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they can.
Speaking of billions of dollars, and where is it? Sam Bankman fraud, right? So you were right. His jail is apparently infested by rats and maggots.
He's in Fox Hill.
There's another one that's come in, and he's called Sam Bankman fraud.
Yeah.
Now, apparently his parents are being investigated as well, because apparently they received payments.
Yeah, they didn't just receive payments; they received property as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I believe his mother is a lawyer and strategist for the Democrat Party. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. His parents are professionals, and his mother owns a PAC, I believe, for the Democrats. A political action committee.
Yeah.
She's a lawyer. She's a professor. She's a strategist for the Democrats. It would be quite funny if they were under investigation, because one of the charges that has been levied against Sam is campaign finance violations.
Yep.
Very interesting, isn't it?
Interference with an election, perhaps?
Perhaps, John, perhaps. I don't know. Definitely some money laundering, I would imagine.
Yeah. Right, so here's a strange one. The competition regulator is to investigate antibiotics pricing following a surge in pricing following a surge in strep A cases.
Of course.
So...
Supply and demand, baby. Supply and demand.
Yeah.
That's capitalism, baby. That's capitalism. Right?
So nothing to see here.
Right, that's just supply and demand, John. I mean, what should actually happen is, if they're being provided to and through our NHS, there should be a fixed price agreed at one point, and prices should not be able to be going up and down. But
agreed.
Once again, supply and demand, and once again, somebody needs to come into our NHS and have some hard fucking conversations and try and work all of this shit out.
Yeah.
But anyway, breaking from Sky News, former Wimbledon champion Boris Becker has been released from jail today and will be deported from the UK, according to the PA news agency. Why was Boris in jail, John?
Well, Boris was in jail because he went bankrupt.
Right.
Now, he's lived in Britain for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
He went bankrupt in Britain. But he's in jail not because he went bankrupt, but because he tried to hide £2.5 million of assets.
I'm going to be honest with you, John. I'd have probably done the same.
Yeah. So he tried to have his cake and eat it. Right?
Yeah, I'd have probably done the same.
So he served 8 months of a 2.5-year jail sentence, and he will be deported back to Germany because he's not a British citizen.
But
now,
does he still have his assets?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they'd be confiscated as proceeds of crime. So the question is, why can we deport him like that, and yet all these people that come into the country illegally have to not be deported?
Because he can't accuse them of being racist, John.
And he's white, isn't he?
They're terrified of being accused of being racist, and that's what this all boils down to.
Yeah. Speaking of being white and purer than the driven snow, okay, this article from GB News kind of gets my goat, because it's like, read the room, people. Read the fucking room. Is this her, like, you know, let them eat cake moment?
It could well be, John. It will be.
You know, Beamy and Kate Middleton, picture of happiness as she decorates Christmas tree ahead of the Royal Carol concert in honour of late Queen. I mean, it's like, for fuck's sake, people.
I bet that jumper she's wearing is more expensive than anything I could buy in, like, with a year's savings.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. It is nauseating, as Natasha says in the chat.
That is nauseating.
Because, like you said, John, read the fucking room. At this point, right, these people, they don't know what paying for an electricity bill is. They don't.
No, they don't.
They don't pay their bills. Someone else does it for them, if they even have bills, right?
We have staff to do that, don't you know?
Oh, yes, we have staff to do that, don't you know? But they obviously, they present themselves to us as our betters. Look, we're going to decorate our tree, and it's going to be in the most... I bet the fucking decorations on their tree cost more than what we make in a year.
Yeah, I bet she doesn't have to fucking get her balls sponsored.
Yeah. And if you would like to do that, there are some on my tree. Like, here's Benjamin's ball. But if you would like to do that, then you can give a £10 donation to paypal.me/wheeliebricks, and you can sponsor my balls. It's in the chat now. If you do feel like doing that, then just drop a little message in the PayPal payment, what you want put on it, short message please, and your name, and it will go on the tree. And it will help me towards getting a well-deserved break in January, which I need to raise €300 to do. So
it appears that the US Senate has actually made a sensible decision for once.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. The US Senate, this was yesterday, wasn't it, passed a bill banning TikTok on all government devices. They're afraid that ByteDance and the CCP are going to be spying on them.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably with good reason, because the CCP probably is spying on them as we speak.
Yeah, it probably is spying on them, absolutely. So yeah, you're absolutely right, John. Perfectly good decision. We have TikTok. Well, I have TikTok on my device. I don't really care if the CCP is spying on me, because all they'll find is a lot of Winnie the Pooh memes. John's muted himself. Look at that. I'll make myself big, whilst John deals with whatever he has to deal with. But yeah, whatever I have on my device, it's going to be Winnie the Pooh memes, pictures of Xi Jinping pasted on Winnie, things like that, just so that TikTok can be happy with my choices. Now, Shalini asks, Ben, when is the Christmas show? Well, I can now tell you that the one-off Christmas bash will be at 8 p.m. on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve. It's a one-off. It will not be saved. You will not be able to watch it back. If you want to watch it, you have to watch it live. There will be no politics. There will be no news. It will be music. It will be jokes. It'll be laughter. If John comes along, it might get very, very interesting. Oh, Shalini says we won't be able to watch.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Yes, we shall. Well, I could move it to the 23rd. It could still be in flux. Anyway, let's move on. So this is the moron who used a tad too much concrete glue to fix himself to a German street. They're not sending their brightest. In fact, he didn't just use super glue. He
used concrete glue.
Yeah, but he didn't just use the glue. He mixed it with sand. And that makes it even worse.
You know what he should have mixed it with? Bicarbonate of soda. That makes it even stronger.
Do you think his hand or the bones in his fingers are broken?
No, I think they cut the road out.
Yeah, that's how strong the glue is. They had to cut the road out.
Yeah.
So like this article says, just a boil, John. They're not sending their brightest, are they? They're not sending their best. They're not sending their brightest. And I don't even know how he gets that off. I'm going to be honest with you.
He's going to have to wait for his skin to slough off his fingers, isn't he?
Yeah, or it'll be surgery.
And his sex life's been harmed in the process.
Oh, hold on. I'm going back to that picture. Give me a second. Sex life. What are you talking about, John?
What?
Look at the state of him.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, John?
Well, that's his friendly hand. I'm assuming he's right-handed.
Oh, it's Palmer the Henderson, is it?
Yeah.
Hey!
He won't be seeing her for a wee while.
No.
Moving on.
Let's move on.
Oh.
So, in fact, £7.84, just put this in the chat, surprisingly, and it's our next slide. Bank of England's interest rate rise, still a concern, but there are glimmers of hope for the future.
Did he?
He said, look, rates gone up again.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, well, yeah. So the inflation rate went down slightly from the high in October, was it? So it went from 11.5 to 10.5 or something like that.
Right.
Okay. Which is still quite high in real terms. I mean, so, and then the banks put the rate up to what, 3.5% or something, which is quite high.
Yeah.
For, in recent memory. I mean, people are going, oh, I might be getting some interest on my savings. Hold on a minute, people. If you have savings in the bank and the interest rate is 3.5%, you'll get at best what, 1.75?
At best.
Right. So let's just say you got 2% and inflation rate's at 10. What's your net loss?
A fair whack,
John. You're still losing money, aren't you?
Indeed,
no point
you are.
In having savings in a high inflation economy. There's no point in having savings.
Now we've
spend it.
Now with just over 5 minutes left on the show, we are going to have to rocket through these next slides. So
yeah, well, we'll be all right, I think, because we're nearly at the funny section.
So let's move on to.
We've moved on to defense of Ukraine,
which is the funny section anyway.
But this is not a funny topic.
Okay.
Right? Because this is defense of Ukraine saying that's another 64 Ukrainian service members have been released from captivity through an exchange procedure, right? Now, at least they were alive to be released, because if you remember, we saw footage from Ukraine and allegedly was showing Russian prisoners being badly treated.
Yes.
Maltreated, and then ultimately it appeared they were possibly executed.
Yes,
right?
being ended.
Now,
yes,
that was obviously this was not verified, but the footage was quite harrowing and very, very believable.
Yeah,
right. We can't say whether it happened or not.
No,
but it's something to bear in mind when you see things like this.
Not only that, I know it's only a cursory glance, but these troops did look in good condition. They do. Yeah. They looked at least semi well treated. Yeah. So we obviously it's something we are keeping an eye on. But that Defense of Ukraine Twitter account really bothers me. Oh, because it just celebrates death and destruction. And
it glorifies violence every day.
So I also want to address a quick point. Adam says in the chat, inflation's going up anyway. It will be blamed on the strikers, though. The strikers have absolutely nothing to do with inflation.
Well, not... Right, okay. If you give people more money during high inflation, you drive inflation.
Well, yeah, you do that, but I don't think there's enough here to be doing that, because like I said, you could solve that issue immediately by just redirecting other money.
I don't think... What other money?
Ukraine.
Yeah, okay. But I don't think... It's not about... This isn't about... It's not about wages for the unions. This is about feathering their own nest, which is basically all that people ever want to do. They want to feather their own nest, and in my view, what the unions are doing is they smell blood in the water, right?
And they're striking.
They're circling the Tory party, and they want to get rid of the Tory party, and they want to get Labour in, because unions always have an easier ride under Labour than they do under the Tories.
Well, they
right?
do, and what they don't actually understand is under Labour, everything here will get more expensive. Everything will get worse. Inflation will drive.
You know what? It doesn't matter what way it goes, because as I keep saying, what's the aims of government? Keep you under control and feather their own nest. And that's all these people want to do. And the unions are just the same. They're just as bad as government. What they want to do is keep their members under control, get the public on side, feather their own nest. That's all they ever want to do. You know? And you know what? They're all disgusting. And you can dress it up in as many fancy political and economic theories as you like, but they all fucking just want to feather their own nest.
Speaking of disgusting and feathering one's own nest and government, let's move on to that's a very nice segue into our next slide, because Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, which is actually his name is not Boris Johnson, has made £1 million from 4 speeches since quitting as Prime Minister. Now, I'm telling you this, he gets £30,000 an hour for these speeches, okay? Or more than £30,000. Nothing he says could be any better, interesting, or entertaining than what we have to say to you every day, and we don't make 30 grand an hour.
No, we fucking don't.
No, we fucking don't. No, we fucking don't. Does this man deserve 30 grand an hour for a speech? Fuck no. He deserves a jail cell, but as we know, and as we have been trying to tell you since we started this, since its inception, he, Matt Hancock, others, they will never be held to account for what they did to you, for what they've done to us. Right? It's a pipe dream. Let me just say that once again. It is a pipe dream to think these people are going to get prosecuted, to think these people are going to get the jail or any kind of sentence. I know people want it, and I know a lot of people call for it each and every day, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's not.
And it should happen, but it's not going to. And we need to accept that.
Speaking of filthy meat.
Okay.
This guy he's been offered the jail if he doesn't pay back £150,000 or something within 8 weeks. So he sold tons of meat that was considered unfit for human consumption. He's pled guilty to 39 food hygiene offences. And when they say tons of meat, 5.2 tons of meat were recovered from this car wash. Okay, and that's just an example of the butchery that he does.
Capitalism, baby. And
his name?
Go on.
That great old English name of Gent Jacobuti. I bet that meat's halal as well.
Beautiful, beautiful British name, John. Beautiful British name. As Al Murray, the pub landlord, would say. Now, I want to move us on to our next slide. And you need to explain to me what the fuck is going on here.
Well, it looks like an alien invasion, right?
These are just sculptures, aren't they?
No, they're not sculptures. This went out on social media and caused a furore, and people were saying, is it safe to go in the sea and all that? What those are dead aloe vera plants that the guy has staged there to take a photograph of them that look like creatures coming out of the sea, but they're not.
That's right. Well, so they are essentially sculptures, right?
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, okay. So it went viral on social media, and people thought these things actually live in the ocean. No, they don't. They're just dead plants.
They're just dead plants. But I mean, they are quite creepy.
They look quite good, yeah.
Yeah, they looks good, but unfortunately, yeah, just plants. I mean, when the alien invasion does come, I'm not sure I'll actually believe it.
No, I know. Speaking of not believing it, I quite like this cartoon.
This cartoon, A Confederacy of Thieves by Ben Garrison. I do quite like Ben Garrison's work. If you're going to steal something, make it big. You're both amateurs. Ooh.
And for the last slide, we have to go to the Mirror, which seems to be taking pride of place over the New York Post at the moment.
Sounds... What?
Read it out, Ben. Read it out.
Do I have to?
Go on, read it out.
1 minute. Clowns Without Borders.
Go on, you can do it.
Clowns Without Borders UK have sent 19 clowns to Europe to comfort displaced Ukrainian children.
I just the mind boggles.
Well, if you have enjoyed this show, then please consider a donation at patreon.com/Chasing Dissent, or indeed Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Chasing Dissent. You can sponsor my balls by donating at paypal.me/wheeliebricks, or you can go to the merch store at chasingdissent.com/shop. That's chasingdissent.com/shop, where John has populated the store with a bunch of lovely designs, including his famous Air Nah pajamas for the woman in your life who just wants to sleep and not canoodle. So she just puts them on. John's face there, Nah. It says everything, doesn't it? Right there.
It does.
It does.
And with that, I would love to thank you all for attending this episode 175 of Chasing Dissent Live with me, John, and Ben. And it's been great. For you.
Christmas, all the Christmas trees on fire. Santa's holding the lighter. My parents are both liars. I got gifts but 1 subscribers. Thanks for the candy basket. Oh God, another jacket. My stocking's filled with acid. Am I dreaming? What just happened?